Our next session on the role of state governments in promoting digital payments through Fintech Incubator programs, goals and outcomes seen in states. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator up on stage who will take the session forward. We have amongst us the chairman of JITO Incubation and Innovation Foundation, Mr. Rajat Mehta. Let's have a round of applause and welcome him up on stage, please. Thank you so very much, sir, for joining us. And I'd like to invite our esteemed panelists up on stage. We have amongst us Shri Omkar, chairman of the startup Odisha, from Odisha. I'd like to welcome you up on stage, sir. Please do join us. And we have Srimati Sanghamitra Ghosh, IAS Principal Secretary, Department of WCD and SW, Government of West Bengal. It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. Please do join us up on stage. We're now ready to commence with this session. The role of state governments in promoting digital payments through Fintech Incubator programs. And without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to our moderator of the session, Mr. Rajat Mehta. Sir, if you can kindly take over.
Good afternoon and very warm welcome. I think amazing show of strength by NPCI, FCC to put up this Global FinTech Festival. With us, we have two senior administrators today from the state of West Bengal and the state of Odisha. So we have Mrs. Sanghamitra Ghosh. She's an IAS officer of 1997 batch belonging to West Bengal cadre. In her 24-year career, she has served in various capacities across the state. She has been the district magistrate and collector of South 24 Parganas and Howrah, two of the biggest and most populous districts of the state. She has headed the National Health Mission in state for 5 years. Her tenure saw an enormous growth in health infrastructure services in the field of maternal and child health. She is currently the Principal Secretary of Women and Child Development, Social Welfare Department of Government of West Bengal, and is responsible for helming several of the state's flagship schemes on social security. Welcome, ma'am. Along with us, we also have Dr. Omkar Rai, having more than 3 decades of illustrious career, mostly as top brass in leading government organizations in the field of IT and electronics. Dr. Omkar Rai is a renowned technocrat who has served key executive portfolios, and he has not only engaged in policy formulation in niche areas, but also is actively involved in policy execution. Prior to joining as executive chairman of Startup Odisha, he was leading the Software Technology Parks of India, STPI, as its Director General, DG. An alumnus of the prestigious Banaras Hindu University, BHU, he earned his doctorate in statistics in 1991 from there. He is pioneering technocrat who spearheaded SCZ policy in the IT sector. Dr. Rai is among the rare breed of technocrats who earns his unique distinction of working cohesively with industry players for furtherance of cause of industrial growth. He is the serving member of Board of Governors for IIT University Bhubaneswar and a member of Standing Committee of Council of Triple ITs and Coordination Forums of Triple ITs PPP of MHRD, Government of India. For his enormous contribution towards exemplifying the vision of Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya in public forum, BHU has conferred Distinguished Alumnus Award on Dr. Rai for his outstanding contributions to bring transformative changes in IT industry. GLA University has conferred Doctor in Science honorary causa upon Dr. Rai, and Indian Express Group has accoladed him with Digital Icon Award. Welcome, Dr. Rai. Thank you. Hello. So, a very important session today because a lot has changed in the country in the last decade. Today we are talking about the role of state governments in promoting digital payments through Fintech Incubator programs, goals and outcomes seen in states. But we are also going to talk about financial inclusion, awareness that is being created across the Indian states by administrators and government agencies. What is interesting is fintech is a major driver towards the $5 trillion economy target. India is home to over 3085 recognized fintech startups alone. UPI crossed 10 billion transactions in August, more than 350 million users transacting online. Today, our UPI technology, our payment technology is being, exported to about 23 countries outside of India. India is on a journey to produce 280 plus unicorns or 300 plus unicorns by 2030. Over 250 deals happened in fintech in just 2022 alone, worth over $4.5 billion. Despite the headwinds, fintech is one of the sectors where investors have been bullish, and a proof of that is what you see today at this Geo convention and the kind of strength that we are seeing across the ecosystem. Fintech investments have been the most lucrative for Indian angels with over 35% return on investment. So let me begin this session with both our esteemed panelists. So I start with Dr. Rai. Dr. Rai, you're chairman of Startup Odisha, and it's very interesting to see that all the state governments are actively now engaging with this whole explosion of the startup ecosystem. How do you, as an enabler, help the startup ecosystem within your state? And what is the achievement or vision? What is the achievement so far and the vision going forward?
Thank you for this very question. In fact, first of all, let me welcome all the participants here, delegates here, on behalf of Government of Odisha, Startup Odisha. I would say that the facilitation to the startup ecosystem in our starts began with the creation of Odisha Startup Policy 2016. And as a follow-up of that policy, we created Odisha Startup Hub, we call it O-Hub, which is 4 lakhs square feet of space right in the heart of Bhubaneswar. This space, this infrastructure is actually working as a catalyst, as a hub for all the incubators that we have within the state. As I would like to say that we have about 27 incubators duly recognized and funded by Government of Odisha. We have more than 1,700 registered startups. Even though we have more number of startups who are yet to be registered with us, we work very closely with them. We have engaged with the Center of Excellences, academic institutions, domain organizations, research organizations, and we have brought all their capacity into our ecosystem so that our startups get benefited and they could capitalize on the talent, the opportunity, and the mentors that are available in the ecosystem with these institutions. I would say that we work very closely with the entire incubator ecosystem, and we handhold them. We provide very generous grant to all the institutions, including the startups. I would just say that the Government of Odisha, Department of Commerce and Industry has time and again recognized our state as a top performer in the startup state ranking framework. That proves that we not only have one of the best policy in the entire country, but we also implement that policy in most industry-friendly manner. As I said, we have about 1,700, more than 1,700 startups. There are good number of startups who are also working in the fintech sector. Very recently, in April 2023, with the collaboration of NPCI, our state conducted our first fintech festival, and that is the kind of ambition, aspiration that the state has to basically revolutionize the creation of fintech startups, participation of fintech startup in solving the problem that the state faces, creation of digital financial inclusion, taking the payment and wealth creation ecosystem to the rural masses, to the last mile in the state. This is the kind of goal, this is the kind of objective we have as of now.
Very interesting. Thank you. Ma'am, while there's a lot of fintech and tech that is being spoken about here, all of this doesn't materialize until the administration, focus on some of the core things. That is bringing, general population, the population in the rural, the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns, and uplifting them. And I think your role, as Principal Secretary, Department of Women and Child Welfare and Social Welfare, plays a very instrumental role. All of these things can only happen once there is some kind of awareness, inclusion, literacy that is being created by agencies and departments like yours. Ma'am, would you like to elaborate on the DBT, the direct benefit transfer schemes, and how it's impacting the female population of your state?
Yes, thank you, Rajat, for the question. And I must say thank you for putting me at ease, because this is a fintech summit, and it's quite intimidating to be present here among so many, tech whizzes in the audience and in the general population who is attending the various panels here. But we are not today. I'm not here to talk about the brains behind fintech. I'm here to talk about very, very vulnerable populations who too need to be reached out by fintech. As I work in the Department of Women and Children and Social Welfare, the name itself indicates that I work with very vulnerable populations. I work with children, adolescents, I work with senior citizens, I work with persons with disabilities, I work with destitute peoples who have no homes. And fintech cannot be inclusive until you are not including each and every one of them. And just to put things in perspective, we know that when we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, financial inclusion is a very, very key enabler for most of these goals. And also, since I do work with women, when we are looking at what the United Nations is selecting as a theme for the International Women's Day for 2023, it's very, very, what shall I say, relevant. It says digit all, that is, DIGITALL, innovation and technology for gender equality. So fintech can't really leave out all these people. In West Bengal, there has been a very, very consistent focus on women and on empowering them. It's been through every government that we've had. And it's one of the reasons why, from the point of view of female literacy or empowerment, it is one of the leading states in the country. And the government has played a singular role in this, although we certainly do believe that it's not a single-handed kind of an approach by the government. It's collaboration with civil societies, with businesses, that has led to this all-round development. And we've had several very focused schemes on women, but we do take a life cycle approach in this. It's not only women. We are also talking about adolescent girls. We are talking about children. We are talking about older women who are past the working population age, 60 plus. Whether we are supporting the senior citizens with pensions, whether we are supporting the adolescent girls with scholarships, whether we are supporting the smaller children with nutrition and early childhood education programs, or whether we are actually using the main population of women in the workforce as targets for fintech. It is everyone. What we are trying to do is that whatever direct benefit transfers we are making to them in the form of scholarships, pensions, or any other monthly income scheme, we ensure that they have their own bank accounts. The bank accounts have to be in their own name, and not jointly held with the man in their life, whether it's a husband or a son or a father. So that itself, we think, has been an enabler. And if you look at the family health surveys, reports, you've seen that what the PM Jan Dhan account has done. And you've seen that between the national health surveys, the 4 and the 5, the number of women, the percentage of women who've actually used bank accounts to transact their own business has really doubled. In our state, it has nearly doubled from 43% to 76%. So, and the government's DBT schemes have played a very, very direct role in this, I believe.
So truly, I think what is interesting is that all the states and the center are putting in their best foot forward to take all these schemes right to where it really is needed. And Dr. Rai, one of the important questions over here, some of these attendees could be incubators and are our topic today dwells on how state governments, their role is towards enabling fintech incubators or incubators in general, and the outcomes. So, as a state startup, organization, how are you working very closely with incubators from within the state or outside? What are the kind of policies that you're coming up with? How are you attracting people to the state of Odisha? And is there something that incubators over here should know about, what Startup Odisha is doing and how their incubation program could collaborate with you?
Thank you for this very question, in fact. I would say that as per our policy, we give grant to the incubators, right? Any incubator who wants to operate in the state of Odisha is eligible for the grants, and we deliver this grant in a very time-bound manner. Second, that we have 27 incubators and we have 30 districts in our state. So now we have the vision or plans in place to create at least one incubator in each and every district. We have more than 200 higher educational institutions, including technical educational institutions. And we have plans in place to make sure that each and every institution of our state opens, establishes, and operates an incubator in the domain wherever they feel they have the expertise, scope to deal with. Apart from that, we work with accelerators. We believe that we must focus in creation of institution within the state. At the same time, we must also capitalize and ride on those initiatives wherever our startups can benefit better. So we incentivize our startups to access the acceleration service, accelerators being run across the country. So we incentivize them, we fund them so that they can participate. Before we could create our own brand, we could establish our own accelerator within the state. In times to come, as I said, we will be establishing in a time-bound manner, in a phased manner, around 200 incubators, including 30 incubators, which each of them will be established at least in one district. Apart from that, we are developing a large mentor pool because we have a lot of expatriates, ODIAs, NRI ODIAs, and they are working in cutting-edge technology across the world, and they are very keen to serve the state. So we are enlisting them. We are going to generate a huge pool of mentors across the technology, across the domains and sectors. They will be available to serve our startups within the state. Apart from that, we have just finished our understanding agreement with the SIDBI, and we are now going to establish a fund in our state. And in this scheme, we have a perpetuity of funding arrangement from the state. There is a assurance or guarantee from the state that as much amount as SIDBI can utilize from our given grant or given commitment, they can seek another funding. So, mean to say that in our state, in case the AIF fund managers could exploit or use the entire amount that is being allocated for this, then the state government would put another tranche of money just in time so that we can perpetuate or continue to deliver the funding services within the state. Apart from that, I just said we are working for creation of a very holistic and inclusive innovation ecosystem. We are working with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Center for Bits and Atoms. We are going to have an understanding with them, world's largest understanding with MIT, in terms of making Odisha a kind of place, a kind of hub where not only we cater to our innovation needs, create fab labs across the state, but we want to become net exporter of fab culture across India and outside. So we are going to become a regional capacity center for creation of innovation lab, fab lab. And we are going to train hundreds of young boys and girls from our state who will not only serve and man all those innovation centers, fab academies, fab labs across the state in educational institutions, incubators, in all those infrastructure where we are promoting a startup culture. But we will generate enough number of young boys and girls who will be able to serve this kind of infrastructure and ecosystem even outside the state. So this is we are also going to create a kind of Odisha's venture capital fund. And this is, for this we have already worked with the consultants, and we are going to float an RFP to enlist a consultant who can establish a venture capital fund for the state. I will come back to the policy that we have in place, which we are going to even change. We are going to modify this policy this year itself. But this policy is still, I mentioned in my earlier remark, that it is a top performer policy, not only in terms of incentives, but also in terms of its ease of implementation. So this policy has all the ingredients to position the our state, in one of the top 3 startup ecosystems in times to come.
So about a decade or so back, we would hear that the states within the country would be competing for, infrastructure projects. States would be competing for, large, expos and signing of MOUs. Today, we can see that all states are basically not competing, but in a healthy way, competing to, use the opportunity in the startup ecosystem, and also providing so much benefit to anyone who wants to be or desires to be an entrepreneur. Truly an amazing time to be a founder or to be a startup in India at the moment, where every single state and central body is focusing on creating entrepreneurs and using this entire startup ecosystem towards the right direction. Ma'am, very interestingly, you spoke about a very interesting initiative, JITO, and I think it's worthy of appreciation to come up with such innovative, initiatives. If you could dwell on that, A, and B, if you could also talk about the financial inclusion of women in your state and efforts that are being taken towards that. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Rajat. I would just like to focus on some of the biggest schemes that the West Bengal government is running at the moment, with focus on women. And as I was saying, that it is a life cycle approach. We are ensuring that no age group is really left out of the efforts. So if we first look at the biggest scheme in terms of numbers that we are doing right now, that's Lakshmi Bhandar, and this is also the newest kid on the block. Actually, it's been only about 2 years that we've launched this scheme. And when we did this in 2021, we were in the middle of a pandemic. We were trying to come out of an economy which had shut down. And all the economists, we have a global advisory group of economists led by the Nobel laureate, Dr. Abhijit Binayak Banerjee. All of them were telling us to put money in the hands of people. And we decided to put money in the hands of the women. And that was the name we chose, Lakshmi Bhandar. In Indian iconography, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. She also represents, household prosperity and all-round well-being. And the Bhandar is really the little earthen pot that she carries in the crook of her arm, and which is really symbolizes the piggy bank that women put away their household savings in to dip into for a rainy day. It's a nest egg. So it has very strong associations, Lakshmi Bhandar, the name, and that is how we decided to call this scheme. And when we launched it in August 21, in fact, on Independence Day in August 21, the challenge, we knew that there would be a huge number of applications, and there were. In the course of 1 month, 2 crore women applied for this. And we had kept this scheme very simple. We knew that we had to make the money flow very fast. And so we were ready for it. And this is where fintech really came to our aid, because this was public money that we were putting in the hands of these women, all of whom were really in the middle-age group with no regular income of their own. And all of them were a lot of them were first-time, bank account owners, first-time bank account operators. So that was the population that we were working with. And how did we associate with, for example, NPCI? We asked them to validate the bank accounts for us. We needed to make sure that these were proper bank accounts, and we needed to see that these bank accounts were really in the names of the women who had applied and not in the names of their husbands or fathers, as I said. So, and this work was done for 2 crore women in 2 weeks flat, and we were able to get the money rolling into their bank accounts within a fortnight. So that is how fintech helps us. that's one thing. And for these women to be able to just, step out of their homes, to be able to go to the bank, interact with the bank officials, to be able to operate their bank account, whatever little the money is. But it's a money that it's in their own name. They are not beholden to anyone else, to the husband or to the father or to the son for this amount of money. And this is a decision that they can take themselves. That itself is a huge accomplishment for them. That's the sense of empowerment that, comes with Lakshmi Bhandar. So when we do government schemes, there are certain set objectives that we start out with. But in many cases, we have seen that, the scheme takes on a life of its own, and it has so many other spin-off effects that we had not really, sometimes we do anticipate, sometimes we don't anticipate. And a good example of that is another, adolescent girl-oriented scheme that we have done, which is Shri, which is once again a hugely successful scheme in West Bengal, which we started off 10 years ago in order to incentivize girls to continue in education. We all know that girls tend to drop out of education after a certain age. So in order to retain them in schools and colleges, we started this scholarship scheme, which is now a household word in the state, and it has been recognized by the United Nations as a public service scheme which has a very large reach. Shri 2 was about giving this scholarship money in the names of the girl students, not in anyone else's account. What is this? Rajat was talking about financial inclusion, about how DBT it's not just money going into somebody's accounts. It is about, giving those women a sense of ownership that, yes, I have to do something with this money. It gives them a scope to take decisions about how to spend the money, a scope which is not available to a lot of women in general in India. So, and not only adolescent girls and middle-aged women. We are also talking about widows. We are talking about, as I said, senior citizens, the women who are past 60, who are not in the working population anymore. Even they have their own bank accounts into which their monthly pensions flow. So it is a stability of income that we are assuring them through DBT. It is access to a bank account. It is the opportunity to go out and interact with others. It is the opportunity to do something with that money. And the money is just 1,000 rupees. But when an old woman says that, yes, I have been able to buy some sweets for my grandchild on her birthday, that is one kind of fulfillment. When a mother says, I have been able to pay for the tuition fees of my child with this extra money, or when a woman says that I'm putting away a little bit of this 1,000 rupees to be able to, to build a small capital with which I can do some activities with self-help groups. So, she started to think about how to make this money grow. So this is what financial inclusion does. This is what, access to a little bit of money, it need not be capital, but a little bit of money does to women. It opens up a whole new opportunity. And it's not only, about bank accounts. It's about empowering them digitally. It is about putting a smartphone in their hands, connecting them to the internet. As we all know that, globally, I think 1/4 of the world's population is still not on the net. And very unsurprisingly, most of this 1/4 is women and girls. And this is something that we need to break. This is something that we in our state have been trying to break. We have been, and we must remember why we are putting smartphones in the hands of high school students, girls and boys. This happened during the pandemic time when they had to get access to virtual learning platforms. But it has been a continuing scheme with us. And it has helped the adolescents to familiarize themselves with the digital framework of learning. But it is also about, it's also about senior citizens, coming forward and accessing their bank accounts through their smartphones themselves without having to really depend on their tech-savvy younger generations, their grandchildren or their children. And we have been using digital platforms for our service providers also. I mean, I work in the health and nutrition sector. So we have a huge number of women who are frontline workers. We have, auxiliary nurse midwives. We have ASHA workers. We have Anganwadi workers. In our state, there are 2 lakh such women working. And we've put smartphones in their hands so that they can generate data, they can upload data. 2 lakh women really means, 2 lakh families. So that's 10 lakhs of the population already included in the digital world. So that is also an empowering tool for women. I'll stop there, Rajat.
Thank you. I don't think we have much time now. So can we take 2 questions from the audience? Quick 2 questions, anyone? Yeah, from the first, this thing.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is to Dr. Omkar Roy. While there's a lot of proliferation of fintechs and encouragement, are there any special initiatives to encourage green fintechs in the state of Odisha, given the fact that that part of the world, there is a lot of focus and impetus?
Thank you very much for this question. In fact, I would admit that we don't have very separate treatment for this very exclusive set of startups in our state, but we will take it as a suggestion, basically, under this SDG goals and such other things, and ESG that we are focusing right now. We would definitely create a kind of separate treatment for these startups in times to come. But in our state, in fact, there are certain number of startups who are doing great job in terms of taking the digital payment, the wallet services to the young rural masses, and they have actually earned a lot of great critical mass in terms of being a startup.
Okay.
So would you like to delve on the startup yatra that you're launching on 11th September?
Yes. Thank you, Rajat, for this. In fact, we want to make sure that we become inclusive, we create right sensitization across the state, across the masses. And that is why we are launching our Startup Yatra, which is going to connect 200 educational institutions across the state, will capitalize on the entire ecosystem that we have in place. It is going to at least touch at least 20 to 30,000 students in cluster manner. Each and every district will be, connected and outreached. We will also conduct hackathon, boot camps, so that young boys can be sensitized towards the entrepreneurship, towards the startup ecosystem, apart from familiarization of the policies and programs that we have in place. So this is the kind of initiative we are taking. We want to, create that critical mass to take this startup ecosystem to the next level in times to come.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
One last question from the gentleman.
Omkar ji, thank you. So my question to you, sir, is that we see a lot of startups coming and thriving in Odisha. Okay. At the same time, to support these startups, what can you also elaborate to us the kind of development that is happening, so that training, support, development, and skilled manpower is also available for the startups that are coming up there or startups that want to move to Odisha?
I would say that we are taking all-out initiative to make sure that this ecosystem grows without any botheration, without any bottleneck. So we have, as I said, we have a large number of educational institutions. Bhubaneswar has become a kind of educational hub right now. We have also a very strong IT industry. Those who follow the news about state of Odisha, they know that multinational technology corporation, they are now queuing up and establishing their development center in the state. And that is why we have a critical mass in terms of talent that is available in IT industry. So educational institution, IT industry, and we have about 1,700 startups already in place. Our educational institutions are participating in promotion of incubation culture in the state. We have 27 incubators. And we have very proactive policy. We have a preferential market access by the government. We are also going to launch corporate innovation program. As I said, we are going to become largest capacity center in the entire country in terms of creation of fabrication culture, not only in the state, but also to supply and support other states in these endeavors. So, and we have a large mentor pool, we have our fund of fund, which is being managed by SIDBI. So we have all the ecosystem, all the initiatives in place to make sure that any ecosystem player, accelerator, incubator, mentors, investors, if they come to our state, they will be handheld, they will be supported, and they will be assimilated in the ecosystem.
Thank you, sir.
I think a very important part of the ecosystem is the population base which supports the startups, right? The startups can't operate in isolation. So that is the point that we are all trying to make, that we need to include each and every one person in the population in the entire digital framework. And we must remember that, all of us who are living here today in the population, the current population, the majority was not born into a computer-driven world. Most of us were born when computers were still not there in a big way, and we really can't afford to just wait and allow this, कि ठीक है computer नहीं जानते हैं, they will eventually pass on and die out. Can we really afford to wait for these populations to pass on? No, we need to make them digital and tech savvy. Even as we are trying to teach, the children in schools about digital technology. So yes, an all-round, multifaceted approach is necessary, where governments, where NGOs, where businesses are all working together to create an enabling environment for all, from which a digital economy in which all of us will benefit.
Thank you to Dr. Omkar Rai and Mrs. Sanghamitra Ghosh. Some excellent initiatives, great effort from both the state of Odisha and the state of West Bengal. I wish you all the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Indeed, what a fabulous session. I request our panelists to kindly stay back on stage as we have mementos we like to